All right, Monday, we're back. February 22nd, another episode of the Back in the Day group show. Salamato sitting in, as always. Brought to you by Digital Savior Chicago. Yeah, that's us. It's what I do. We transfer 8mm film. You got all those 8mm films, VHS tapes. Maybe you got a special occasion. Maybe you got married 3-4 times. You're bound to have one of them videos you'd like to see again, right? So we can transfer all of that to any format. If it's got audio, video, or pictures on it, we can digitize it, transfer it to any format. Call 815-556-2685 for more details on Digital Saviors Chicago. Or you can always visit the group, watch or the website. Look at that, huh? I am getting the hang of it now. All right, so Back in the Day group show, what we do is we talk about the posts that are on the groups that we have across social platforms. And I thought, we got to start bringing on guests, people that we can have some fun with from back in the day, people you remember either locally or nationally. We've got Coco Cortez coming up in the next few weeks, Jesse Saunders coming up working on Ray Parker Jr. And tonight, I wanted to bring on somebody locally, someone who I've known for a long time, and he's a great guy. And if you partied in the city back in the day in the 80s at the Riviera, this was the man who was DJing back in the day. It was George Suarez, Jungle George. George, I'm going to bring you in here as soon as I find the right window. I'm down about 18 windows. There you are. George, what's going on, bro?
How you doing, Sal? Hey, everybody.
Jungle George. George, how'd you wind up at the Riv, dude? I mean, Tony Batoy was throwing all the parties. Where were you spinning before the Riv? And then how'd you get to the Riv?
Before the Riviera nightclub, I was DJing at Coconuts.
Yeah.
And I had gotten into Coconuts through Mike Machiarello. When I was running the record pool, the Let's Dance record pool, him and I walked one day when we went down to Coconuts to see the owner, Andy, and didn't know what was going on. I mean, I wasn't familiar with Coconuts. I know it was kind of a legendary club. So I go in, I meet the owners. Before you know it, I get a job there, and I'm working there. And I believe at some point in there, I had made contact with Tony Batoy. He had popped in a few times to Coconuts and introduced himself. And on one occasion, I can't even remember, he mentioned that there was going to be something big coming to the city. An opening of a large nightclub or something, and he wanted to talk to me about that. So after that, we switched numbers and we got to talking, and the Riv came along, and I wasn't aware of Mike Hitman Wilson. I wasn't familiar with Mike. I believe I may have known him through some of the radio mixes, but I never met Mike. So it was interesting. Meeting Tony, meeting Mike, it all came together in 1989.
Well, you were on GCI too. You did mixes at GCI briefly for a while, correct?
Yeah. I was a guest on there a few times. I was a guest of Mario Diaz, and I was a guest of Ralphie Rosario on there. And I had fun on the radio.
Let's talk about Electric Dancer. It was a huge club hit. How'd that happen, bro? How'd you wind up doing Electric Dance? Who'd you go in the who hooked you up, and who'd you go in the studio, and what studio did you do it at? Or did you just do it in your basement on a 4-track?
Well, I wish I could. It was something not far from that. I was at the Riviera, and people are like, you got to come up with something. Every DJ's got a record. Everybody comes up with something. Come up with a beat track, do something, put your name on it. I was like, I don't know, So I sat down at the Riv while I was on break, and just started writing some words, and I finished it at home. I did it overnight. The most difficult part was putting the music, getting the music together. So at that time, I knew Dwayne Pham. He was a good friend. So I called Dwayne. I said, let's get together and do something. And took the words out there. We did the track, and we did a fairly good job. Mike Wilson really brought that song home. He did a fabulous job. He put that song on the map. So I totally credit Mike. Mike was a good friend. You don't have too many DJs like that.
Oh no.
You can make a call and say, hey, can you help me with this? And it was no problem for Mike. So
he was always one of the most decent guys in the industry. Stand-up guy, not a bad bone in him.
Definitely a stand-up guy. Yep.
And I remember the vinyl because sometimes the vinyl, Mickey and Kenny with Hot Mix 5, their vinyl was flawless, but some of the vinyl that came out, like tracks that were like potato chips, and the vinyl that Electric Dance was on, I said, man, this is pretty nice. Even Mark Imperial stuff everything was nice and flat. You didn't have the waves on the record. Electric Dance was a really well pressed record, man. I didn't have any issues with that song at all in the clubs back then. Where'd you wind up having that pressed at?
I think we used was it Disc Masters?
Out in New York. Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely out in New York, and I think Mike Machiarello helped me put all that together. He had contacts out there in New York. We were definitely not going to go to Larry Sherman, and I did want to release it on my own, but Mike had at that time Mike Machiarello had the Playhouse label. And he could help me move that a little faster.
Well, he had distribution too. Yeah, the distribution was important.
For distribution, we did pretty well.
Yeah.
He hooked it up in New York, and then we had a New York promoter. Her name was Claudia Cassetta. She was in charge of Maxi Records, and Claudia handled our record and brought it up there. She did a good job. She really did. We did great sales in Florida. We did great sales in Detroit. I'm trying to remember, it was so long ago. I'm trying to remember how well we did in the UK. I think it was mostly a US hit.
Did he get it? Did he get it licensed? Were you able to license it?
Yes, Mike Machiarello did get it licensed to a couple of compilations. I'm trying to remember which ones they were. They were overseas. They were definitely UK. I think it was also on a service, one of those UK service. I'm trying to remember the name of it.
Was it? You mean one of the remix service like DMC? Yeah.
Something like that. It was I believe it was out of the UK. I just don't remember the name, but I do remember seeing it on there.
Yeah, we got one of these days. We got to get Mike on here too, man, because you talk about a guy with history and long-reaching roots in the dance community. Another guy from this city that a lot of people don't know, who was involved in so many things and made so many things happen and was such a great guy. I mean, you've known Mike. I've known him since Dogs of War, which is what, 80, right? Had to be about 80 when he in the pool. Yeah,
you go back a little further than I do. I met Mike, I believe 85. We met at the I believe I met Mike at the it was the BBC. It was actually the Audio Talent.
The Christmas party. Yeah, I think that's the first time I met you. Was it when they debuted "Music Is the Key"? Rocky had Rocky had the party over at BBC before it became Eddie Rockets. Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember dropping, and that's where I met a lot of these. I remember seeing Ralphie DJing there.
Yeah.
Oh, the memories. That's where I first came into contact with a lot of these producers and DJs, and I believe Mike was there, and we exchanged numbers, and then I got a hold of him, and funny, I wound up becoming a Let's Dance Record Pool member when I should have been Audio Talent.
Yeah, you weren't supposed to be in multiple pools back then, but boy, we sure did our damnedest to figure out how, if you were in imports, I got an IRS in 81 when Paul moved out of the garage. Remember originally import was in the little garage. His dad owned the building. And then he went to the store side. And the clubs, I always tried to find a club that was in Audio Talent, because this way I knew if the club screwed me, I was walking out with half their shit. And because you always had to be prepared to get screwed by a club owner back in the day,
Yeah.
I mean, you had you had good club owners and bad club owners, but you always had to be prepared to get it stuck up your ass somehow, some way. Somebody was going to screw you, and you had to figure out, how can I get even with this guy without literally lighting him on fire and being arrested for it? So it was, let me get into record pools and take half the shit out the joint if they screw me. But Mike, Dogs of War, Mike went from Dogs of War, then went to Let's Dance. And then, were you in Audio Talent at that time for 85?
No, I actually had dropped into Audio Talent a few times prior. 85 is when I first became familiar with the whole record pool thing. Prior to that, I was already working Rush Street. I'm sure the Rush Street clubs that I was DJing at belonged to a record pool. Hang Up was actually my first club. That was just 81 or 82. And I do remember they were in a record pool. I just don't, it was probably Audio Talent.
Probably Audio Talent, yeah. Yeah, because everybody on Division Street, PS Chicago, Mothers, Shenanigans, Poets, they were all in Audio Talent at the time. And actually, you weren't there, but in '81, when Rocky used to for Audio Talent, we never knew where we were going to actually pick up records. It was a different place every week. So for a couple of weeks on Tuesdays were the pickup days for the pools. You had to go to the pool, pick up your stuff, and it was at Poets actually, and you had to go downstairs, and the records were laid out on the dance floor at Poets, the old Poets. And there was like everybody's stuff was stacked. And then you went to Imports, and it was like, holy shit, this joint's got its shit together. Imports Frank was so organized. Mark, Brett Wilcox. I mean, these guys were like Marines, dude. Everything was nice and neat and dusted, categorically organized. Your name was typed out properly. And if you didn't hand in that feedback, bad boy, they would mess with you. You had to be on top of your shit at Imports. Audio Talent was you got other stuff in Audio Talent you weren't getting in Imports, but in Imports, I think Paul, there was a lot more favoritism with the labels with Paul at that time. And then as the 80s went by, Rocky really put it together with DJ International and really made a splash with the house music and everything. But all record pool wise, Imports was the one you wanted to be in as a club DJ. You really did.
There was a pool, Naja,
National Association of DJs. So yeah. They used to sponsor. They used to sponsor
some hotel or something.
Yeah. God, Farley had told, because Farley was a member of Naja, and originally Naja, National Association of DJs of America, I think it was sponsoring the Mix Show. It was sponsoring the Saturday Night Live show before Lee even put the Hot Mix 5 together, because before the Hot Mix 5 were put together, there were mixes being run, and Kenny was over at GCI still. Kenny was doing mixes right after DAI fell apart. Kenny Jam and Jason wound up at GCI, and Kenny was doing remixes at that time, and Lee come to Chicago, he's doing mornings, he starts putting on mixes, and it was like anything. And I had met Farley, and Farley was in this thing called Naja. I was like, what the? And they were showing me some of the records. Like, dude, what the hell is that? I didn't even know what it was. I had no clue what it was they were servicing, but it was nothing that I would ever have any use for. But then by 82, when Farley was at the I think he was at the candy shop in 82, and they were getting some good service. But then I think they fell apart and fell off the wagon after that, and that was it for Naja, from what I recall.
Yeah, I believe I was there in 83 with a friend of mine. We were already kind of in a DJ scene. Well, we were in a DJ scene, but we weren't really familiar with the pool. I'm trying to remember who tipped us off about Naja, but I remember going into this hotel, into this tight elevator, and then when you get off the elevator, you had to walk up like a flight of stairs and knock on a door. Now, if this wasn't the seediest operation, I remember who the guy. It was some heavy-set guy that came out, and he talked to us for a while, and he showed me, he whipped out a stack of records, and this is about what you'll be getting every week. And all I remember is just telling my friend, I'm not coming here.
It was a lot of fun back then, dude. It really was. As a club DJ, and it didn't matter if you were, even the guys that work Metro, if you were working a rock club, new wave club, it was a lot of fun because you got to know different people. I mean, and all kinds of different music. I wanted to know what the hell they were playing in Seattle. I wanted to know what they were playing in Charlotte. And when you went to the pools to pick up your records, you got to meet, everybody was a character. Every DJ was a character. It was like one big cartoon show on a Tuesday. And it was a lot of fun. Here, I'm going to tell you real quick, some of the people checking in. Denise Cash listening and watching in San Diego. Susan Nicholas, they had a record store in Evergreen Plaza back in the day. I wonder what the hell that was.
That was probably Juan Tovar's store.
Was that Juan?
Yeah, back in Evergreen Plaza. I'm trying to remember the name of the store.
Yeah, maybe she'll remember. Vic Spinning Lopez, what's up? What else we got in here? Wow, it's nice to have people tune in, and don't forget we do this every Monday night across all the platforms. And another thing I'm working on, it's a project. It's called the In Channel, going to be an interactive channel for all the platforms. It's like this project that I've been working on for the last 6-7 months. It'll be a lot of fun once it's done. I'm hoping to finish it before I hit 300 pounds. I'm working on it. We got Escobar tuning in. Howdy. I'm sitting here with Jungle George Suarez. If you partied at the Riviera, this was the man who was behind the turntables up and, George, I came up and said hi to you every once in a while, but dude, that was a long walk after you were completely inebriated. It was a long trek to get up there. And, and back then, I mean, dude, some of the biggest shows, I mean, you had TKA, they were, Technotronic, right? Technotronic, Rob Bass, DJ Easy Rock. Dude, they were falling out of the rafters on Sunday nights with another 2,000 people standing outside trying to get in. And you're spinning. Tony's up on stage introducing people in his fur coat, and it's 90,000 degrees in the joint. And Tony's got his fur on. I mean, you talk about some great memories. What was the craziest show that you did? I mean, what was there a show that really stood out? I mean, for me, it was, I think, Sweet Sensation and Seduction, because it was a rough night for me. It ended well, but not well. But what was one of the craziest shows you remember at the Riv back then?
I'm trying to think back to. I enjoyed all the shows. I mean, I was flattered that I was able to meet half of these artists. I remember having asked Tony Patoy for permission so I can go backstage and say hello to maybe take some pictures with the recording artists. They were all great. I mean, they were all young. They were all great. They were never snobby or had an attitude or anything like that. The cover girls were sweet Sensation, TKA. Those guys were great. They let me just come in. George Lamont.
What a guy!
Sat down.
What a guy!
All these guys that were, as far as I know, never had an attitude. They all welcomed me. I introduced myself, and they allowed me to take some pictures with them. And Tony was cool. Tony just had the, he caught all this at a good time and was able to bring it into the Riv and make it all happen. It was just a good time. I had a good time working there. Hitman and I. The night went by so quick. The weeks went by, the years have gone by so quick.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I can't really give you the best.
Do you remember the biggest crowd? You remember what the biggest crowd was?
All the crowds were pretty much, when that place opened on Sundays. I mean, I don't know how it looked outside. I'm imagining there must have been lines outside because the inside was packed.
Yeah.
All the way, above the DJ booth, that whole sitting area upstairs, that was all packed. I mean, it was standing room, so I don't know. I never saw it slow down till maybe the last year. It was starting to slow down a bit, but the first 2 years, that place was, sold out every weekend. Every time Tony had even if there was no one performing there, we still had a packed house.
And I don't know if you could put that many people in that joint without it collapsing today.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
I'm surprised it's still standing.
I'd love to see that place. I'd love to see Tony do a return to the Riv. After this COVID, he's been mentioning, bringing it back or something. It'd be nice to be able to bring back one night at the Riviera with me and Mike, and just do a club night.
We're sitting in with Jungle George Suarez, who was the DJ at the Riviera here in Chicago back the late 80s, early 90s. And George is on Facebook. We'll post the links once we put the show up on demand, as well as his Mixcloud. You've got a mix on the Mixcloud page, George. And it's here. Check this. I think Tony did the intro.
Let's fuck it. Yeah.
Oh, you said a dirty word. Oh, there was a.
Mine?
Yeah, hang on here. Let me see. I'm looking for the one with Tony's intro if I can find it. It's on here somewhere, but right now we're showing that page, George. I don't know if you can't see it, but we're showing your Mixcloud page with a lot of the mixes taking you back to the Riviera, back to Roscoe's, Shadows. When you were at Shadows nightclub and the GCI mix, we're on your Mixcloud page. You can find Jungle George's mixes on Mixcloud as well. And I think this is the one with Tony. Hang on here.
This is Tony Patoy. Join me as we take you back to the Riv in 1989 for a special house mix dedicated for all who attended or performed at the Riviera. It's 90 minutes of memories mixed by DJ Jungle George. Take it away, George.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So Tony, so I decided to start this back to the club series on my Facebook page, and I reached out to Tony and asked him if we could do a few intros for me. So I did this house mix, and Tony was good enough to do that for me. I just recently did another one with Eddie V, and that was the return to the Shadows nightclub, and I'm gonna keep doing those for memory's sake.
Yeah, it helps keep the yang up too,
Yeah.
On the and Tony's been posting. I gave Tony pre-approval on the BMX group page because Tony, we monitor the groups because there's a way you grow these groups, and if you oversaturate the groups, it aggravates people because sometimes we don't do any of the live streams because Facebook's taking live streams down left and right, and if you go to a group or you go to a page and you see nothing but this content is not available, well, those people are never going to come to the group. So I don't want that. We have other groups for that, and trust me, those like the DJs live streaming group and the EDM Chicago events group page, dude, there's 100 posts of nothing. You know what I mean? It's just this content is not available. And I want people to be able to go back in time, whether it's the mixes and stuff on the BMX page or on any of our group pages for the, the back in the day group where it's a much wider scope of things. The BMX is the Chicago. It's predominantly Chicago. It's old school. It's the clubs. It's the mixes. And the back in the day group is much more wide open, including even like Q101. Because, a lot of people listen to Q101 back in the day in the 90s. They got screwed just like the people who listened to BMX because all of a sudden the station was just gone, Yeah. Their heritage was just taken from them. They grew up with something, and some company comes in and says, we don't give a shit about that. They throw it in the garbage. It's like, whoa, that's 20-something years of history. How do you throw that in the garbage? So the back in the day group focuses a lot on everything, whether it was the alternative Q101 in the 90s, and we've got that right here, Q101.com with all that stuff. But the back in the day group here on the BMX page, Tony's been posting some of the old house shows that he did back then. When it was a cable access, right, George? Wasn't
cable access?
Yeah, local.
Yeah, I remember them being the house. Are you referring to the house countdown? That was,
the house countdown. That's it. Yeah.
That was filmed Sundays at the Riv with guest DJs. Tony did bring me in on several occasions, and at one point I did try to reach out to. I forgot the lady who produced the show. She is on Facebook, but she's not returning the post. I really wanted to get all her shows so we can put them up on Facebook. We're still trying to work on that.
That would be great because Tony's posted a couple of them, and they're in the WBMX group. And as I'm talking to you here, I'm scrolling through some of the posts. Great, the Razor Maid remix of "Can't You See"? Remember that Razor Maid?
Yes,
great stuff. That's another thing. A lot of DJs, that was it was fun for us because some of these remix services, some of them were good, some of them weren't so good. But Razor Maid was more on the progressive tip, more alternative. That's why you had the Ann Clarks and Vicious Pink and Telex and a lot of stuff like that. Here's a I'm showing right now the Heaven 17 video from Penthouse and Pavement. Another great record. Some of these things, it's nice to see people coming out and posting some of the stuff, and then we regulate it so the 800 of them don't go up at the same time. You know what I mean? In the BMX group.
If I could just say something real quick, you mentioned Vicious Pink, Can't You See? We in the 1990s we got together with Bert Bardot and released the Bardot Swing, which was picked up by ZYX Record. Our following release was going to be a remake of Vicious Pink, Can't You See? Which actually I still have on. I still have sitting at home on the shelf. I'm going to probably wind up posting a few. It was Bird's rendition, a high energy version of "Can't You See" in the Bird Bardot way. So it was kind of cool, and that was supposed to be our follow up on ZYX. It just never just never happened.
Now, did you play any high energy at all, George, or did you? At the Riv, you had to play what you had to play. But any other clubs, did you ever play high energy stuff?
I don't know. the high energy at the Riv I didn't. I started out with mostly freestyle, and then I brought in the house music. Hitman was mostly doing the house. So I would most of the time I would just start the night with freestyle, and then do something with the house, kind of like when Hitman got there at midnight. Then I just then he kept up with the house. But I'm trying to remember at Shadows, there was high energy being played as far as disco, high energy. We did go into some of the classics like Lime, taps, things like that.
Yeah,
so I guess that was high energy. I don't, after that, I don't recall really doing anything other than the techno sound, which I wasn't crazy about that whole techno sound when that came in from the UK, but that was super high energy.
So I remember, at that time I was importing and exporting at that time too. So we were getting a lot of that stuff in. The UK was very breakbeaty at the time. Italy was still, everything sounded like Black Box coming out of there.
Yep.
But you had a lot of that rave stuff like Digital Boy.
Yep.
Dude, I must have sold 4,000 or 5,000 copies of Digital Boy that we export, or I sold to the stores when 123 Acid was out, and that whole Wave 128 that Bill was playing in the mixes.
Yes.
A lot of that stuff. But like you said, some of it was so out there. J&J, the Ballet, a lot of these things come to mind. Farghetto, and some of the stuff got picked up and wound up domestic. To Unlimited and Apotheosis, Obambrata. All those songs, a lot of them got picked up here, but you had to have a special kind of club to be able to play that stuff too, because it wasn't for everybody. And Bill Patter, DJ Bill talking about ZYX and some of the great stuff were you dealing with Harry at the time at Harry Towers? Was Harry and ZYX at the time when you were playing their stuff? Do you remember?
Yes, when I was running the Let's Dance record pool, Harry was so generous. He would service our pool full, and anytime he came out with a release, we always had, we were on top of all that high energy. I'm trying to think. It was when that whole rave scene came out. Our pool got flooded with all those rave titles, and he was very supportive of our pool. We were very supportive of his label.
And Harry, a lot of people were talking about Harry Frank Towers. Harry was at a bunch of labels. Even when he was at Submarine, remember when they had Porn Kings in the late 90s? And but Harry was at ZYX originally, and an amazingly wonderful, again, not many like him in the industry. Another person who comes to mind that I dealt with a lot back was I don't know if you remember Kelly Schweinsberg. Kelly passed away. Kelly was at RCA.
I remember Kelly.
Yeah, there's a lot of wonderful people that we've been fortunate to deal with through the years. I didn't start dealing with them till about 82, 83. I had started in 78, but then I started dealing with a lot of people just like you did once you came in. Next thing you know, you're at the record pool and these artists are dropping in, and you're meeting record guys and record people, and you meet some characters, boy.
Yeah.
You meet some characters. So what's on, what do you got coming up, George? Anything coming up?
Music-wise, so I'm not doing a whole lot, to be honest. I try to stay on Facebook just to connect with the friends and stay in touch with the music industry. I've got a full-time job, so that kind of wears me out. By the time I get home, I couldn't do a whole lot. Hitting 60 years old, it's I'm still thinking about that. Wow, time flies.
Well, yeah, think about, I said this, when ZZ was doing the parties and I was covering them and doing a lot of the video in 2013, 2014, whatever it was, 2015. And I said, dude, you realize we're already in our 50s and you're starting a track act at midnight. Half these people just want to get home and collapse and beat the shit out of their pillow. We ain't staying out till 5 a.m. no more like we used to. This shit's got to start at 7, 8 o'clock because some of them got grandkids they got to get back to,
Yeah.
It ain't like it used to, man. And honestly, as you get older, I don't know how we did what we did back then, dude. Partying and staying up and you go for 2 straight days, and it wasn't drugs. It was just you were able to do it. Now, if I I got to spend 12 hours. I'm lost. Hey, what was the best place? We're gonna let you go pretty soon here. What was the best place? One of the big questions this week in the group. 19,000 people reached on this thing. Where'd you go for grub, dude? When you got out of the joint, the end of the night, where'd you go?
When we left Riv, probably I can tell you so many memories at the Riv having breakfast, because we right around the corner, I believe it's a Golden Nugget, and and I would literally fall asleep with my head would flop right into the breakfast plate. But
syrup and all.
Yeah, Tony or Hitman will tell you about that. I would be asleep while trying to stay awake. One of those late night things. And but a lot of times Tony would take us all out to eat. It was either there or we'd go down to Rush Street. I'm trying to remember the name of that place on Rush Street.
The Oak Tree? Was it the Oak Tree?
That's it.
Yeah.
I believe it was the Oak Tree.
Yeah, there was Oak Tree and then there was Bijan. The original Bijan was open till like 5 in the morning, but Oak Tree was the place a lot of people went to right down the block from where Woodhugh's was, which then became, what was it? The Hunt Club. So
it had to be Oak Tree.
The Oak Tree. Yeah.
And Tony would just drag us all out for breakfast. Most of the time after the Riv, if there was an act or if there was a DJ, they'd come along with us. I remember we were having a breakfast with the whole crew from Detroit, Art and all those guys from KMS Records. I believe Kevin Saunderson was with us. So there's a lot of memories. There's a lot of memories at the Riv. I mean, it was the best. It was a good time to be that age with those kind of groups coming up. Like I said, Tony just captured that moment. For a lifetime, because those are memories I'll never forget.
Yeah, and he had, and at that time he had the radio support too, because BMX just got sold in '88. So now you're coming out of '88, going to '89. B96 is still playing, Debbie Gibson, and all of a sudden they turn it loose and they tell Brian Middleton, okay, you don't have to play the playlist anymore. And then Julian and Bill wind up over there. Next thing you know, Dave Shakes comes in who didn't know what he was doing, and he just wound up listening to Frankie, and Bill and Julian, and they were off to the races. And thinking about that, and you were at 91. Did you do a mix for Hot 94.7 too? Did you?
Yeah, actually, I did. Yeah. Wow, you remember that? I did a couple of mixes for them. We were in the process of getting our team. We had a team back then. We were airing our mixes on WNUR. That was in the mid '80s, and we had I think Mike Machiarello had set it up through Hot 94.7, and is that the station?
Yeah, that was a mess. It was Hell Radio. Yeah, it was Hell. Randy Michaels, J-Cord came in, and Randy Michaels, everything that guy's touched, he's destroyed. And they came in, and Danny Wright was very dance friendly at that time at 94.7 when they flipped from Z95 to Hell Radio. And Danny Wright, they were doing that Hell 9. That's when they were making fun of Eddie and Jobo in the morning, and they were doing those what they call stingers, and they were in Spanish. And I remember telling Joe, I said, what's the logic in that? And Joe's, I don't know, whatever they do, fine. If they want to talk about us in Swahili, I don't care. You're talking about Eddie and Jobo on 94.7. It's the dumbest thing I ever saw in my life. And then that whole thing went to shit, and then they flipped and simulcasted the AM and FM to talk radio briefly in 92. But yeah, I remember the mixer. You did a mix or two for 94.7 when it was Hell Radio, man. They were playing some good stuff, dude. They were playing Teddy Riley and Guy. They were playing Lizette Melendez. They were playing Corina. It was different, and it lasted about 4 weeks.
Wow.
And that was it. Yeah. All right, we're sitting in with George Suarez, partied at the Riv. You were dancing to this, man. George, we stay in touch. I love you, my friend. It's good to talk with you. And I'm going to go through some of the things in the group here, but I'm going to let you go here so you ain't got to sit in that car no more.
Thanks, Al.
And thanks to technology, we were able to work our way around the problem that we had, and we still brought you in, even on the screen here.
Yeah.
Not bad.
Well, thanks a lot, and thanks for everyone that tuned in tonight.
Oh, yeah, it was good talking to you, George. It'll be on demand as well. So you take care of yourself, right? Stay safe out there.
Take care. Thanks.
All right, George. Bye-bye. All right, we done good. How about that, huh? Jungle George Suarez, Riviera back in the day. Back then too, the Riv, it was 21 and up to drink, or 21, it was 18 and up to get in, 21 and up to drink. So in the back part, they had before the dance floor, if you stayed back there, you could drink. But if you were 18, if you were under 21 in the front by the dance floor, you couldn't come back where you weren't supposed to come back and drink. They had these little wristbands. And I'll tell you, one of those nights was a really bad night. I lost my blue Anaconda. I had a beautiful blue Anaconda snake jacket, man. It had a side zip. It was a Mark Buchanan. And that disappeared, and then my car disappeared, and it wasn't because I was drunk, it was because I got stolen. So it was a rough, and I think it was the night seduction was there from what I remember. So let me go through some of the posts real quick here in the group. Those of you tuning in on Q101's page, WCKG, Chicago Sportsbook Radio. Look at that, huh? You got Dan Patrick on 1530 AM and 102.3 FM Sports Talk. And, especially if you're betting sports, if you ain't watching it, you're betting. If you're betting, you're not, whatever. 1530 AM and 102.3 and Q101. This is the Q101, all right? The real one. Great website. Take you back. And like we said, a lot of the people who listen to Q101 in the 90s were the same kind of people who listen to BMX in the 80s. Your heritage, everything that you grew up with, they just took it away, right? It's online. You can find Q101 online and listen to all those great things. Nine Inch Nails, Rage Against the Machine, Front 242, Pearl Jam, Nirvana, Tool, whatever you're into. Yeah, I know a lot about it all. It's all there. You can listen to it and watch it on Q101.com. Let me close that window. Sportsbook Radio, don't forget the show is brought to you by Digital Saviors Chicago, where we transfer everything from audio, video, movies, pictures, slides, you name it. It's transferred to any format you want. 815-556-2685, or just visit the website like you see right here on the screen, digitalsaviorschicago.com. Now, in the groups, there's George's. Don't forget, we'll post the links to George Suarez and his Mixcloud page and a bunch of other stuff in the groups this week. Get some really great posts, and we appreciate you sharing the posts, liking the posts, commenting on the posts. It's great to have a lot of people interacting, and we regulate the posts and we regulate the groups, not because we're like soup Nazis over here. It's that there's a way you got to do it with Facebook, so you don't miss a lot and they don't ding you, and in effect cause it where you get less exposure. We're trying to get the post exposed to as many people as possible, and Facebook wants you to pay just money just to reach people anymore. So we're trying, we work with the algorithm, we know what they're doing, and we regulate the posts in the groups and on the pages, including the Q101 page, where it's almost 200. There's almost 260,000 people on the Q101 page right now. There's 95,000 people on the CKG page, right? The groups are growing. We're starting, and there's Q101 groups, just like there's the WBMX group, which is really growing. And we appreciate it. Make sure you share those posts on our groups, man, because the BMX group is old school. It's Chicago. It's exclusive to what it's all about. All the mixes, the house music, the freestyle. Don't forget, BMX was a classic R&B station, just like the BeatChicago.com, which is playing me and Mrs. Jones right now. Little baby making music, huh? So you get all that. No, it's not that. It's playing Stevie Wonder. Let me refresh that page. Oh, you got Benny Hill. Those of you like Benny Hill, got a bunch of episodes of Benny Hill to watch. Also, we put up the Thornbirds from 1983. Remember the Thornbirds? Yeah, you can watch music videos, movies, TV shows. It's like one big old school network. And then there's this crystal clear audio there on the website, and no app required. Anyways, on the posts in BMX here, you got Vicious Pink, a lot of good stuff, a lot of new people coming on, sharing a lot of great music from the BMX era, and we'll keep you posted on what's going on. The next couple weeks coming up on the show, we're gonna have Jesse Saunders, one of the godfathers and the originators of house music. Coco Cortez is going to join us. We don't know if it's going to be next week or the week after. We'll get it straightened out the next week. Veronique from WBMX is going to join us too. Yeah. Working on Ray Parker Jr., a couple other people that I'm dealing with here to bring them on the show and just have some fun and go back in time, because better times, better music. Like we say on the beat, all the best music, movies, and TV shows have been made. We're just here to help you remember them all. All right, if you missed the show or miss any part of the show, it's on demand on all the platforms that you're watching. Hey, Rick, how you doing? Hey, you got your electric back in Houston, huh? Good friend. Now, there's a guy goes back with me all the way to Safari Club, all right? All the way back to Safari. That's 30, it's a long time ago. Good to see you, Rick. As a matter of fact, I'll give you a call when I'm done. So we're going to put the show every week. We're doing it. It'll be on demand every week, and it's across all those platforms, across all those pages. Get ready for the in-channel. This thing's going to be huge. It's a project I'm working on. I have been waiting to get this project developed. The in-channel is a project we're going to be doing hopefully in the next 6 to 8 months. We get to launch this thing. It's a day-to-day project that I'm working on. It's a lot of work. Oh, my 8th grade teacher. Hello. How you put up with us, I'll never know. There she is, my 8th grade teacher. What a sweetheart. What's up, Al? I'm glad you joined the page. Tell your friends, tell your family. WBMX group page. All right. All right. We're done. I'm out of here. It was a great time. I hope you guys enjoyed yourselves. You know, I'm doing 45 things over here, and I ain't making excuses because this is the way I operate daily. I just, 9 million things going, and I'm happy to do it. We're glad you're here. Take care of yourselves, behave yourselves, and that's it. Okay. All righty. Adios. Ooh, multicultural.